Okay, so you're live. Record. How do I record? Okay, guys, we're live. I need to...
Great, good to be on.
Are
Two
we
different
live?
territories too.
We're live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, and live on YouTube.
Yeah, just give it a couple of minutes. Let people come in.
Yep.
Are we good to go, Kat?
Kat's mic is muted. Well, everyone's mic's muted. Is that a thing? Should I be muting my mic as well?
No, I don't think I'm muted.
Yo, you're not muted.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was just seeing if it was my machine that was the feedback.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon for some. Welcome to the Marvion Ask Me Anything session. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Kevin, and with me I have the Executive CEO of Marvion, Julian. I also have the CEO of Phoenix Waters Production, Bizhan Tong, and two superstars from UK and Hong Kong, Kevin Leslie from the UK, and Tsui Shaopin from Hong Kong. Tonight, we're just going to discuss the collaboration between movie industries, or rather how NFT can be used in the movie industry. I'll let Julian take the lead on to introduce Marvion as an entity, and then I'll let Bizhan talk about Phoenix Waters, and Kevin and Xiaoping can talk about their role within this little ecosystem. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Kevin. Really very happy and delighted to be attending this session with the rest of you. This is a great honor, and I hope it will be great fun too. Just very briefly and very quickly, a very quick introduction of Marvion. So Marvion is actually a publicly traded company listed in the OTC markets. We're probably one of a few NFT companies that are such. In our recent discussions with the US SEC regulators, we've discovered that a lot of NFT projects today are probably going to struggle with the regulators going forward probably because they find difficulty in articulating what exactly that they're selling with the NFTs. Marvion is obviously very different. Our NFTs are actually documents of title of media and entertainment intangible assets. This makes us very, very different. And we're part of a much greater ecosystem of a lot of different technology companies. And I think that's important when we are issuing any NFTs or when we're buying any NFTs. Marvion is in particular is in the media and entertainment industry. That's the reason why we have, Bizhan, Kevin, as well as Shaopin in this conversation today, because they are actually in the movie and entertainment industry, and we're very keen to hear what they've got to say. But I will end here just with a very brief description. If anyone else has got any other questions about Marvion or about the NFTs that we're doing, please feel free to raise them from the audience. But with that, let me very quickly hand over to Bizhan so that he could just do a brief description of what Phoenix Waters does and how they are actually working together with Marvion going into the future. With that, I'll hand over to Bizhan. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. And I think the key word that you brought up is the future, because over the last few decades, we constantly see the film industry, the series, entertainment industry continue to evolve. We started from black and white and silent pictures to sound, then color, then later on the advent of 3D technology. We've seen the continued growth of immersive entertainment. And I see NFTs as a form of that, of continuing to that growth, of creating a connection between the viewer, the user, and what they see on screen, so that what they watch, how they experience it, goes beyond what you're watching on screen. So we'll talk about that shortly, but just to quickly expand on what I do. So I run Phoenix Waters Productions. It's a production company based in the UK and Hong Kong. And what we do is we create high concept, high quality content, films and shows for local and international audiences. We tend to focus on content that really appeals and has universal themes that speaks to viewers wherever you are in the globe. So the projects which we've done have included romantic dramas like The Escort, to more recently a suspense thriller called Lockdown, which Kevin Leslie is the star of. More recently, we shot a drama series called Forensic Psychologist, which Shaopin is one of the cast members of. And going forward, we're shooting a remake of a Hollywood film, a Richard Linklater film called Tape, in the next couple of months. And then after that, we're doing Hong Kong's biggest zombie film, Chongqing Mansions, which we'll discuss soon. But what Phoenix Waters does is essentially looking around the world and trying to see what works, what type of content, what kind of stories will appeal to the hearts and minds of viewers wherever you are. And in terms of what we're doing with Marvion, it's really about exploring that space, exploring NFTs, so that we can go beyond what typically people have perceived it as. And unfortunately, people perceive NFTs simply as digital merchandise. And yes, merchandising does exist, absolutely, but there's more to it. And that's what I'm excited about. That's what I thrive on. And in speaking with Julian, there was a connection there in terms of the ambition of what we can achieve with NFTs. Can we use NFTs and can viewers utilize NFTs in a way that can actually impact the storyline in a TV show? Can we use NFTs to feel closer to the stories themselves, to be a part of that story? Can we, of course, use them to become closer to their favorite artists, their idols? All of these and more made it quite possible to achieve, to go forward, to become pioneers and lead the forefront of technology within the entertainment space. So that what Spielberg said, I think it was over a decade ago, he said he saw a future where audiences can impact the storyline on the screen. And I believe NFTs is that future. But yeah, I'll pass it on now. I think I'll pass on first to Kevin Leslie, star of Lockdown, to talk a bit about it. Which actually, just quickly adding to that, ended up becoming Asia's first NFT feature film and the world's first hybrid NFT feature, which is something we take great pride in. But please, Kevin, go ahead. I'd love to hear you talk about Lockdown.
Oh, me too. Yeah, so hi guys. Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here. not only as an actor, but learning this side of, like Bizhan was saying, the future and how NFTs are going to adapt, the creative world, and how things may, features may get financed and stuff. I find that quite fascinating as well, to learn, what the future may look like. Yeah. So as Bizhan said, I star in his feature film Lockdown. I play a very interesting character that it took me a while to say yes to, because he's quite a diverse figure. And the premise of the film is an actor that signs on to what he believes is an online audition, and then meets this casting director who's on the other side of the screen. And yeah, it's safe to say it's not what my character Larry thought it was going to be. It then becomes this thriller where this guy sets Larry a lot of challenges to try and keep himself, his loved ones, and friends alive. Yeah, in terms of the character I play, I'm trying to think not to use references or names. I don't want to offend anyone, but we've seen recently Bizhan smiling because Bizhan knows where my
Yes.
who had to look up. But I'm sure we can all imagine who they are when I say these sorts of things. But it's these voices that have got bigger and bigger over the last few years. How we've seen a change in how divisive some people are being online with social media and trying to evoke a reaction. And I think what Bizhan wrote for Larry, he kind of epitomizes all that. It's somebody that, like me as an actor, I kind of do it for the craft and the love, and I want to tell amazing. Just wants to be famous, so he'll do whatever it takes to kind of achieve that. And even if that means falling in with a crowd that gives him that notoriety and gives him that voice, he then leans into that. And he ends up with quite right-wing theories and conspiracy theories, and he kind of advocates that all on like a social media platform, and that's how he gets himself in trouble. And this is, we shot it in a time of, like everyone's experience over the days, COVID, and it was an amazing shoot. I mean, you just heard it there from Bizhan and Julian. I know what you guys are trying to do, and the partnership for me, why it's amazing, is because that is Bizhan as a filmmaker. Like every time I speak to him about his ideas, it's petrifying because it's so ambitious. But I don't know any other filmmaker that is kind of pushing those boundaries at the moment. So that's me.
It's very kind. Thank you, Kevin. And it was a genuine thrill to be making that film. In the case of Lockdown, you're right. I mean, we were shooting the movie during an actual national lockdown. It was between September to November 2020. So the UK government had just shut everything down. Incredible when you're going outside and there's literally no one there. And then in addition to that, we were shooting around the world. So we had the opportunity to be shooting characters in Japan. Of course, we were shooting sequences in Hong Kong. The casting director, the main villain who's putting Larry through his ropes, Kevin's character, is played by Xander Berkeley. We shot all his scenes in the US. So it was a genuinely global experience to be working with actors around the world to make this thriller. And again, the film itself was topical. It was exploring what was going on, whether it's divisiveness, certain infamous tweets that were taking place during that time, attempted cures at COVID, which I highly do not recommend. All of those were explored within the guise of the film. At the very same time, something that was occurring, of course, during that time was NFTs. And so it made clear that this film was speaking to that moment, to that generation, to what was going on in the world. Some of it bad, some of it good. And in the case of NFTs, it made sense to utilize that in the process of making this film. Because again, it's what can we do through that component. In our case, with the NFTs, we actually have our theatrical cut. But we also have an extended edition, which is only available as an NFT. So that's just one of the many ways in which we're utilizing it in a manner that's different from the norm, and that can provide new opportunities for viewers, for fans to enjoy the film. So I'll move on to introducing Shaopin, who recently starred in my drama series Forensic Psychologist. And I'd love, instead of me talking about it, I'd love for you to talk about it.
Nah, you're doing fine. Go on. So how Bizhan and I met, actually, I met him at his birthday party. I kind of went in and crashed it, I guess. And we ended up talking for a long time. And a lot of his ideas, like Kevin said, were very ambitious. And a lot of things I was looking for this whole time. I've been in Hong Kong for about 8 years now. And granted, it's been a very, very interesting experience. I had a lot of training in film and television in Vancouver, where I'm from, as you can maybe guess. But coming to Hong Kong, a lot of things are very yeah, Julian. A lot of things are very different in terms of shooting style, schedule, the culture, just kind of how it trickles down from the top. It was a bit of a adaptation, I guess. There's a lot of things to adjust. And so talking to Bizhan and what he wanted to accomplish here in Hong Kong really kind of got me excited. And so I really wanted to be a part of one of his projects. And he sent me the script for Forensic Psychologist. And what was useful for me is that his script was written on English first. I can't read Chinese. Oh, he got scared and he left. I can't read Chinese, so he finished the script. Oh, he's back. Is it me or do I have glaucoma? It's all blurry now, but it's okay. Anyways, so I got the script in English and I read it from beginning to end. It was just something that I really wanted to be a part of, and something that I didn't feel that Hong Kong had this sort of style. A lot of the scenes actually just takes place in a very small confined room with maybe max of maybe 3 or 4 people at a time. Sometimes, mostly just one-on-one with the main lead, Jeannie Chan, the talented and beautiful Jeannie Chen, and whoever she's dealing with at the moment. And so my character, Dr. Yu, is Jeannie's, I guess, junior, and he's new to the field. And so I just kind of took that energy of going into a new space and going into a new project, and I had the jitters, of course, but I kind of used that to my advantage. And I think the first day of shooting was very much just me keeping that in mind and having that nervous yet kind of excitement in me to let that, do all the talking. But the main challenge was, like I said before, is the script of having it in English and then having it translated in Chinese, because a lot of the things sometimes don't translate very well. I'm sure if we have any viewers right now that are listening, if you know Cantonese and you're reading the subtitles sometimes of movies, they're pretty inaccurate. A lot of the times, pretty inaccurate. And so that was one of the obstacles. I shouldn't say challenges. An obstacle that Gigi and I faced in the first day is that on the first day we shot a pretty intense long scene, and before rehearsals we sat down and we asked Bizhan if it was okay to extend our break for about 45 minutes so we can go over from beginning to end. And something beautiful happened out of that. Is that the whole scene turned into something that we didn't expect. It went into another direction. There was a lot of room for play, and that's one thing I really appreciate working with Bizhan, is that his total trust in his team and his actors to have that play and sense of play and curiosity to take it to a new direction. And I think I haven't seen the final product, but Bizhan and Genie both tell me that it worked out beautifully. So that's one thing, like I said, I really appreciate, and I don't get to experience so much in Hong Kong, is the sense of play and collaboration between the actors and the director, and maybe some of the camera operators who have suggestions here and there. It's a very sense of team, like a team atmosphere that I really appreciate working on this project. So that's kind of what my experience was like. It was unfortunately it was only 2 days of shooting, but I wish it was a little longer. But hopefully there's more to do in the coming months.
Season 2.
Can I ask a question here, Shaopin? Just
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, the role that you play as a forensic psychologist is pretty specialized, right?
Yes.
What do you ever take any form of classes or training to step into role, or like, or do you just go with the flow?
I wouldn't say that I didn't take any classes per se. I did watch a lot of, I grew up watching a lot of those kind of CSI sort of shows, and I didn't want to get too much into it because, yes, there is a certain professionalism about my character, Dr. Yu, but then I also did want to have him contrast Genie's sort of stern, very, very strict professional sort of thing, because we do have a few scenes together where if I play it too straight, I think it could go. I shouldn't say. How can I put it? I just wanted to have a contrast between her character and mine. Mine maybe being more of a light, kind of a bit of a goof in a sense. He is kind of a rookie, so he may say some things that doesn't cross the line, but raise a couple of eyebrows here and there. So I did go into it kind of fresh, and I remember the first day I was, in a new environment, and I kind of took that with me and pretended that was my first day, and looking around, being more curious and asking questions and stuff like that. So no, I didn't. To answer your question, I didn't take any professional classes to get into my role.
Yeah, I mean, Shaopin, I think
probably another question
you
for both. Sorry, just a question for Kevin and Shaopin as well, right? I mean, you guys are professional actors, just I think the audience might want to know, like, when you play a certain role, how do you do it? Do you like step into role and you leave that role for the duration of the filming, or do you step in and out? I mean, how hard is it to be someone else, to actually create a persona of somebody else and live that life and be that person, and then come back and then be Shaopin and Kevin Leslie again? And do you sort of like sometimes take your movie role to your real life?
I think just on what Xiaoping was saying, I thought you've touched on something really well there, which I think the main thing as an actor, you've just got to be open, right? Because you can go with ideas and what you think, and you said a really good point about, like, when you're in a scene, the push and pull of the scene. If somebody's bringing something and then you don't want to deliver the same, because then it makes it a bit stale. I think maybe that was the word you were looking for. It doesn't bubble over as well. So as an actor, you have to be open to, given circumstances, because if another actor gives you something different, then you have to kind of maybe adapt your performance. But yeah, in terms of the character, I think with everything, how I approach it, I don't know, Xiaoping, about yourself, but it's research. Research is key. You've got to understand who you are, what you're saying, making the decisions about your character. From my experiences, some characters, some stay with you more than others. It depends on maybe a part of yourself that you hadn't kind of explored before, and then when you've kind of tapped into that, it kind of, a piece of it stays with you. But yeah, I think as an actor, the key is with anything, it's research. It's really, it's having a good open dialogue with fellow actors and the director, and really discussing, where you are in the scene and what your mental state is, and by all that, it's kind of like all that decision making that you make before getting on set. That's all like subtext. That's the backstory, right? That's who am I? You know, I've had 30 years of life. You carry all that, but you still have to be in the moment. It's about being present and interacting with what's going on in the given circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with everything. I think it also depends on the role, I think. Usually I do try to find if there's any similarities between myself and the actual role. If it's something that's too dark, or I guess if I'm playing something evil that's very much unlike me, there is something about it where after I don't really want to stay in that headspace for so long. You can bring it home sometimes, and it can get not very fun. So that's also another exercise that we were taught, is to how to separate that from being in front of a camera and bringing it home. It can be actually quite difficult sometimes. But luckily, my character for Forensic Psychologist is a little playful. He does have something that he's perhaps hiding without giving too much away. But I mean, who doesn't, right? So I think the main thing for him was to just find a connection between himself and his superior, who he loves and respects, and that was just kind of what I went in with at the beginning.
Yeah, and just quickly to add on that, I think even if you're, it'd be interesting to hear your view on that. Even if you're playing good, bad, I think you have to approach it like as a human. You could be playing different creatures and stuff, but human characters, for me, I still try and find the humanity in them. Try and find the heart in each character, because good or bad, it's usually things have happened in people's lives. We're all influenced by how we're a byproduct of our environments, right? How we grew up or what happened. So I always try and, you might not be able to relate, but find the humanity, find the heart, find the reason why somebody may be the way they are or the way they think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I had the pleasure of watching the trailer for Forensic Psychologist, and I have to say it was very, very, very good. So I personally am very excited to see the final product. Hopefully it'll be as good as the trailer, Shaopin. But I've got some thoughts here actually. I mean, look, I think the NFT and the blockchain is something too complex for us to discuss here. But I would like to use the blockchain and NFTs to actually enhance the experience, not only for the audience but also for the actors. And I was just curious, from Shaopin's perspective or Kevin Leslie's perspective, apart from just acting and hoping that your audience will enjoy watching your acting, had there ever crossed your mind as to how you would like to engage with potentially your fans and your audience, in addition to just performing in the in the drama or in the movie? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, again, we all have our reasons and our why, and Bizhan knows this from me, and this is why I think we formed a strong relationship, and certain things that we want to do and the stories we want to tell is, for me, we're storytellers at heart, right? And for me, the produce we create, let's say, I want to be in a position where we're making films that make the world a better place. We're making products that people can interact with, that help them through difficult times. So like you're saying, whether that's indirectly from somebody just watching your performance, and I've always said, like, an Oscar to me would be, if I ever received a letter from a fan, it was like, your performance in that helped me get through this, or your character in there gave me the courage and the bravery to come out to my parents, or something like that. Really, really kind of making impactful work. And I think just on that, it would extend to that. If there was NFTs, if there was ways, if there was mentorships through the way you could do it, I know that's the sort of thing that is keen to me. Showing people that certain people have an idea of the creative arts world and don't think it's for them or don't think it's for everyone. And I think everyone's got a creative aspect within them. I just think for some people, the journey to get there is more challenging than others. So yeah, whatever we can do, do you know what I mean, and how we can interact with those audience that helps people kind of get towards their end goal, because maybe, you know, they don't have the sort of ladder up that other people do.
Yeah, I completely. I don't know if I have much to add to that. It's a very nice answer. But I think with the time that we live in now with social media and everything, and sometimes when people watch movies, they can get so invested in that world or in the characters that I've heard stories where some people play villains, and when they're walking around the street, people like yell at them and get angry at them because of their character, right? So I mean, for what I'm trying to get at is we live in a world right now where we're all connected via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that. And I've tried to make it more of a space where I can engage with fans who actually have, you know, reach out and stuff like that, and kind of just almost remind them that, yeah, we are storytellers, like Kevin said, but we do have to separate that kind of reality versus what you see on screen. And what he touched on about you know, really impacting a viewer in that way, that is something that I would love to strive for. And those are the little victories that we get. I think we can get plaques or awards and stuff like that. I mean, it's nice, but at the same time, when you touch someone like that and have that sort of impact in their lives, and, you know, people go to watch shows and movies as an escape a lot of the time, right? And maybe they're going through a lot of stuff at home or work or whatever it is. And if we can provide that ounce of hope or optimism or happiness sometimes, then and just to let them know that we're not alone. If they're not alone, then that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I think a lot of our audience and fans would love to engage with the actors, and hopefully, you know, through NFTs we'll get an opportunity to do that. Really change and you know, enhance that whole experience for the audience. But maybe back to Bizhan. I mean, from a producer's perspective, I mean, do you think NFTs could be in any way helpful? You know, not only to enhance the production, you know, as you mentioned earlier, the possibility that NFTs could even affect the outcome of you know, of a movie or of a drama series. Is that something that you think you know, would really change the way our audience interact with us?
Absolutely. So what I'm seeing with NFTs is trying to explore it from all sides. So my own background, in addition to film, is actually in banking, film finance, and fund management. So I've had the opportunity I'm still exist on both sides of the film production process, both the creative side and the business side. And so if you look at film production and all the different stages, you can see that NFTs has an existence, a reason for each of these touch points. So it could start from development, absolutely, with investment film funding, which is crucial for many content creators. I mean, it's a key thing to starting to get that story made. Can we use NFT for that? Yes. Then you've got it into film production. Can we use that both in terms of, yes, raising interest, but also what can we do to enhance that world, to enhance that universe or the IP of where the story is told? And of course, then you go to when the film is made and completed. In the case of it impacting a storyline, yes. So, for example, you can, after the first season of a series, you can utilize NFTs in a manner that by how that's used, by who's collecting these NFTs, we can track all that information, all that data, and then use that to impact the storyline in season 2. So, for example, there's another show which we're currently developing called Crypto Keepers, about American bankers competing with young Hong Kongers to create the next Bitcoin. So it's kind of an East versus West classic underdog story. And what we were exploring was, after the events of season 1, can the use of NFTs, can the collection of character card NFTs, so for example, if I collect all the character cards of the American side, all the character cards of the Hong Kong side, by doing so in that race in the real world, can that then impact the storyline in season 2, giving a bit of a power up or a boost to one of those sides because their fans collected all the character cards for that side? So there are various means in which we're exploring it and seeing how we can utilize NFTs in a way that goes beyond the runtime, so that you as a viewer can watch 12 episodes of a season, but the journey doesn't end there. That when you switch off, that when you go about your normal day-to-day life, you can still have an impact on that storyline, you can still have an impact in that world, you can still immerse yourself in what you love. And as fans, isn't that the greatest thing to be able to do, whether you enjoy The Office, for example, the US Office, and be able to continue to explore Dunder Mifflin, or The Simpsons, which I love, and Springfield, or all these various different shows. There's a project which I mentioned, we're doing the zombie movie. So in that case, NFTs again are supportive in all aspects. So yes, again, we've mentioned film funding and investment, absolutely. But then the fact is, with this film Chongqing Mansions, we've been building out an international cast, and that also means that there are fans for these different people from around the world. So we've already announced some of the cast. In Japan, we've got Rina Sakeda, who's an action star. In Singapore, we've got Desmond Tam and Rebecca Lim. In UK, Kevin's actually one of the cast members. And next week, we're going to be making announcements. I actually would love to say who they are right now. It's like it's killing me not to. But next week, the announcement is going to be made of some other actors who've joined the show. And these are people you would know. These are very recognized names. And again, these are actors and actresses in different countries. So again, what we want to do is, okay, it's a zombie movie. It's about survival. It's about all these different characters. What can we do there? Can we do something that connects the fans of zombie movies, that connects the fans of these actors and actresses to that storyline? And the sky's the limit in terms of what NFTs can do. And we've been exploring that quite rigorously over the past few weeks. And I'm very excited about what we can achieve because, as Kevin alluded to, we are quite ambitious. I do not believe that we should be going for settling for the average. You know, what we want to do with NFTs, it's all about spearheading. It's all about leaders in terms of both Marvion and Phoenix Waters. We want to pioneer within the industry, and the only way to do that is to be ambitious and to be working with the right people, you know, the top talent, the top filmmakers, the top companies. And we're excited about where the future can take us with this.
Yeah, I mean, Bizhan, you're completely spot on, right? I mean, look, apart from the hype and all the speculation, what we found, the best and the most successful NFT projects are the ones where, first of all, has a community. And I think that's what we're building here right now. The second one is, to have really enhanced experiences for the purchasers, for the buyers, and as well as for the other community members. And the third thing is actually the ecosystem. And you've got everything there that you've just discussed. And I think that's why, if we, I'm actually personally very excited. If we were to work together to try and launch a collection of NFTs, I'm sure we'll bear all of these points in mind to ensure that it's going to be a huge success. And especially if, we do see the possibility of sequels, and we do see the possibilities of getting our actors and our actresses involved in a community where there's going to be, real interaction and real feedback between the actors as well as the audience. So that's all very, very exciting. But with that, maybe I just hand it back over to Kev to see, there was anything else that, was there any other questions from the audience, or was there anything else you wanted to raise?
Sorry, Kev, can I just jump in? Because I had a question for Bizhan around, I'm actually now imagining if I was an audience member, because what you said was just interesting. So I just a question around, so in terms of building the NFTs and like the community and stuff, are you saying like, could there be a kind of an opportunity of what you're saying? So just taking the example of like the zombie, imagine it was a film or a series. Are you saying that like the community could have an influence on stories? So basically that there could be multiple endings. For example, say you had the actors and you had like tokens or things that the NFT community had to collect. But if said actor didn't collect all his, actually he may end up, being caught by zombies or killed rather than surviving, where, say the other characters survived if all their things were collected. It was just a question around that to see if that's the sort of thing you were...
Yeah. No, it's a good question. In the case of Chongqing Mansions, there is a definitive ending, although it is a franchise starter. However, with that said, we have been exploring the IP and what we can do here, and that includes comic books, that includes gaming, and so forth. And we are in talks with various companies on that. And that is where NFTs come in. So, can we impact the storyline in the comic? Can we impact the fate of a character? All of those are possible with NFTs. And what you said in terms of endings and so on, that happens to be something we are definitely looking to do with a different project. In addition to Crypto Keepers, we're also developing a superhero show. So that's where we're also exploring what can we do with NFTs there. With respect to endings, yes, that is something which we intend to do.
Yeah, because I can just see, like you said, about building the community, an actor, reaching out to his community to be like, get these NFTs, or, help me be in the sequel, or help me be in season 2, because if we don't collect everything, I'm out. Like I saw that. It's clever.
Agreed. And it's more fun in a sense. I mean, just imagine Lost during the peak of its time, and people were very attached to the characters, to Hurley, and admittedly Ben was a villain, but I liked Ben. And you had Michael and so on. And certain characters you would feel particularly close to, and trying to change someone's fate on the show by having an active interest in them, by doing something in the real world, by collecting these NFTs. All of that, it creates something of added value, because you as a fan, as a viewer, feel that I'm contributing something to the show, that my actions have a real world benefit, in a way it's a real world, because it's breaking the barrier between the real and the screen entertainment of the creative world. So absolutely, and that's what I'm excited about. That as much as there are certain movies that should just be experienced to watch, The Godfather and so forth, there's also this added tool, this added palette for artists and content creators, in that we can make the viewer become part of a journey, become part of a story. And that's exciting. And I'm genuinely thrilled about what the future can achieve because of technology, because of NFTs.
Yeah, and just on the community development, as well as the interaction between actors and the audience. I think I just saw a comment pop up earlier, asking Kevin Leslie to provide workshops on storytelling and acting, and I think that's a great example, right? I mean, if a community can be built through NFTs, and for a certain category of the audience or of the community, we can then organize separate, more private sessions with specific members of the community, especially for this kind of workshops. I think that would also be something that's really interesting, not only just for the actors, but also for the audience. And I hope that that's how we can really change, enhance, and disrupt the entire industry through NFTs and through blockchain. I'm personally very excited about all of this.
Look, at this stage, I just want to encourage any audience out there, or the live audience who has been so nice to tune in to us. Please ask your questions if you have any. Just type it in that little chat box, and I will put it to the participants and to the actors and Julian and Bizhan and Shaopin and Kevin. I encourage you to just ask whatever questions you have, and just put it on, and I will forward it to the participants.
Yeah, just quickly on that, that's something, I'd be more than happy to explore, because I think a great gift of life is all the experiences we learn, is being able to kind of pass those experiences on and pass on your knowledge. Knowledge is power, and it's something in my life to keep learning. It's always like, if you think you know everything, you've lost. Like, there's always something to learn from good experiences or bad experiences. You can constantly learn. So, kind of passing on knowledge and stuff, like you said, building a community around that. If there is interest for that, yeah, I'd be more than keen to host a few workshops if they like our technique. Here we go.
Yeah, okay, that's a bit of a complicated question, so let me take that. Look, I think there are many ways to actually finance film projects through NFTs. I think we just have to be a little bit careful about how we create those NFTs. Well, number one, I think that there's been a lot of talk in the market about how we could create NFTs that actually act more like an investment product, where you could actually participate in the returns that's coming from a particular film project. I think the thing that we need to be careful about that is that if NFTs were to pay any kind of returns, they could be deemed as securities. And therefore, the distribution of any securities would have to comply with securities regulations. But the way we want to do it is, rather than actually creating NFTs that are, a kind of an investment product, we would prefer to create NFTs and use those NFTs for film financing, where they are more of an experiential NFT, right? So I think there's something we discussed earlier, which is, if the NFT contain, first of all, certain private and commercial licenses to certain images or to certain clips or bloopers, for example, where people can have an enhanced experience. That could be one possibility, and that wouldn't be a security. We could create NFTs where, depending on the different classes of NFTs that you acquire, you could have different experiences with the actors. So, like, for example, what we mentioned earlier about having a private workshop, not more than 10 audiences with Kevin Leslie on a workshop like this. You would have to be a certain category of a community member before you could actually get in on such a workshop. So these are the different types of possibilities that we could use, and to distribute these NFTs in order to raise a part and hopefully eventually all of the financing for a project. And once we can do that, you can imagine how powerful that's going to be, because effectively the audience are the ones who are going to enjoy the project, but also are going to be the ones funding the project. And I think that's where we're going to see a huge disruption of the entire media and entertainment industry, which we are hoping to achieve over a period of time. And I hope that answers the question for that particular LinkedIn user. So the next question by Mark is, what are your thoughts about the intersection of films, hybrid NFTs, and the metaverse? Okay, look, again, Bizhan, do you want to have a go at that before I talk about more the from the legal and regulatory perspective?
Sure. So I guess I'll break it down first: films and hybrid NFTs, and then them and the metaverse. So in the case, I'll use lockdown as an example, because lockdown was turned into a hybrid NFT. And so in this case, we were looking at what can be achieved. So for one, we're looking at it from a business point of view in terms of you're investing into an NFT with the expectation that the product of your IP will rise in value. So for example, with premiere tickets for the UK premiere of Lockdown, we sold 5 pairs of tickets as hybrid NFTs. And what was interesting is within seconds, they were sold. And then over the next 2 days, they were sold again and again, rising in value. So it was a case that these people saw it as an investment, in addition to the experience of attending the UK premiere, mingling with the cast, enjoying that experience of a premiere. And they also saw it as a good investment, because the ticket itself, which was signed, which had an image, which had certain contractual rights, became something of worth, something of value, something that they believed would grow. And the same, of course, is true of the film itself. But then in addition separate to the investment standpoint, it also, again, goes back to the viewer, to the user. How can we engage? How can we enjoy it? And so still images, for example, of Lockdown, even still frames from that, I mean, that creates something new, that creates something that fans can enjoy. And I look back on my own childhood. Back in 1995 or 94, The Lion King came out. And I had this commemorative coin of a Lion King bought from the Disney store, limited edition. And it was something I held with pride. And I'm about 7 years old, and I knew that this was something of value. And it was something that not only is of value in terms of this is worth something, but also it made me feel closer to The Lion King, which at the time was the greatest movie of all time for me. So imagine what you can do if you had, for example, a still frame from Titanic. We're at the front of the ship, and you have that king of the world moment, or a moment from Terminator 2 with a thumbs up towards the end of a movie, or all those big iconic moments, that becomes something valuable, becomes something that's special to the fans. Now going to the metaverse. So the metaverse, interestingly, I mean, you can have an infinite number of metaverses to be truthful, and you've got it from Roblox, you've got it from Minecraft, you've got all these different forms. What matters is what's in that metaverse. What makes it valuable, who's in there, who's using it, what brands are using it. So looking at that metaverse that you're creating an experience. So for instance, can characters from the film, can even actors from the film or the show exist in that metaverse? I mean, that's again a game changer there, that you can be in that community and be engaging, in the metaverse with an actress of your favorite film, or take part in something that's part of the IP, part of a movie. For example, a fun event related to Chongqing Mansions, to the zombie film, or visiting the location the forensic psychologist is set. So all these different things are possible, are viable, and being the metaverse, it's really limited to to the possibilities of your imagination of what can be achieved. Anyway, but I'll throw it back to Julian.
Yeah, no, look, I'm actually delighted that this question was asked. Look, to be honest, we are also going through a learning process. I think last year, we were more concerned about creating NFT hype products, right, to what we could sell, whether we're selling posters or whether we're selling a media clip, and whether we're selling private or commercial licenses. But this year we're quite different. I think this year, as far as Marvion is concerned, if we were to issue any NFTs, it must be with the intention of actually building a community around the project itself. And when I say build a community, as we mentioned earlier, we talked about making sure that it is full of experiences. We talked about how it's going to be part of an ecosystem where it involves sequels, it involves participation in the ending, for example, of a movie or of a drama series. But actually, the one thing that I haven't mentioned, which I was keeping to the end, was the metaverse, right? And Bizhan, you're absolutely right. If we could, for example, every time we do a project, whether it's a drama series or a movie, we ensure that we will actually have some kind of an event in the metaverse itself for everyone to actually participate and enjoy and experience the movie or the drama series in the virtual environment before we actually see the product or the production in the real world. I think that would be fantastic. And it's interesting how this question is being asked, because right now we are actually already in a process to build Marvion Universe, which is going to be a virtual universe. And that's precisely the reason why we're actually building that virtual universe, is because we're trying to further enhance the experiences that people get when they actually buy NFTs. And I hope that answers Mark's question. Thank you.
Well, it looks like that's all the questions we have now. Julian and Bizhan, do you have any more you want to add in relation to how NFT plays a role in the movie industry?
I'll just close this off really by saying we've been exploring NFTs because it really can have an impact. It can be the industry disruptor. One of the things, when I look at Phoenix Waters and I look at why we expanded to Hong Kong, the core reason for that was Hong Kong used to, in its creative industry, used to be the jewel of Asia, used to be the apex, and that has arguably been lost to Korea. We're seeing content in Korea, Japan, Taiwan, which are incredible. I'm thoroughly enjoying them. Whereas Hong Kong, for those last 15 years, has slipped in the sense that it's not as relevant as it once was to the international market. And I saw it as it's undervalued. It's a beautiful place, great infrastructure, great talent, and there's something there that we can grow. So in a way, it's an investment into the future of Hong Kong entertainment to make it internationally viable again. Hence what we've done with Forensic Psychologist, hence what we were doing with Chongqing Mansions and the remake of Tape. The same is true of NFTs. So NFTs is something which I see as supporting that, as supporting the future. as shaking the screen entertainment world, and not screen entertainment, the arts world, and beyond. It's something that can have an impact for content creators who, let's be honest, have suffered greatly over the last few years in the way that businesses have been run. And we can change that, we can shift it, we can give more power and more control to content creators. At the same time, it's also great for investors when you're looking at revenue streams. But more importantly, more pertinently, it's about the fans, it's about the viewers, it's about the users. It's about giving them something more. It's about looking at the future, in a sense, the evolution of entertainment. And Julian has brought up community, and that's exactly it. We can create communities around these different films, around these different shows, and we can reward fans. It's no longer a case that you go on a message board and talk about your favorite film or show. You're now being rewarded through the experience of being closer to that, experiencing the world within it, whether it's in the metaverse or talking to the talent and getting a lesson from Kevin. There are so many different ways in which the fans and the viewers can enjoy and be rewarded for it. And that's where I see the future is lying in terms of entertainment. There's a lot that we can do there, and I'm excited to explore it all.
Yeah, Bizhan, I don't know whether you see the question that just popped out, about how production companies take advantages of actors. I'm sure she was not referring to your production company, for sure. I was just going to briefly say that, look, NFT would definitely protect actors because, NFT allows the audience to then determine which actors they want to support. And because they're supporting a particular actor, the actor will always have the protection of their audience or of their fans. But I thought, I would definitely let you answer that question, just so that you can, to ensure that you are defending your production company and make sure that, our audience realize that you're not in any way taking advantage of your actors.
Well, Bizhan, just to help you on there as well, like this is, because the reason why this is actually a really important question is, and again, the word we've used about community is, me and Bizhan have struck up a relationship, and we've worked together now 3-4 projects. And I think where it can, nurture actors and help their careers is if you are building a community and fans like the way certain things are going, or, you've got a voice within the dialogue of what stories you'd like to see, or what's happening in the world that you'd like to see reflected in a certain, then you're a part of the discussion, you're a part of the conversation. And it's almost like, see it like a troupe, like an ensemble of actors. If you've got a community of actors that you can work with, and those actors know that, that you may go from the lead in one film, a smaller part in the other, but you're a part of it. That's longevity as a career for an actor, right? Because you can be in a situation where you are treated as a figure. What's your stock value? Somebody will get you on a film because your name brings a certain weight, or brings, certain pre-sales or what have you. And that can be more exploitative, because then they usually do the film and you're gone. You may never work with them again. You may never, see, where if you're building a community and you're working with like-minded filmmakers and like we said about how the NFTs, because then you're building a fan base in the community. I actually do see that as more beneficial for an actor than hindering.
The community aspect is essential. And you're right. I mean, we look at top filmmakers like Scorsese, like Paul Thomas Anderson, Quentin Tarantino. There are certain actors and actually crew members who will constantly use, and they build that community there. But there's also something else that's specifically relevant to NFTs, which I think is really important for content creators, not just actors, writers, any form of content creator, of any artist really. And that is when you look at the secondary market. So when you look at the secondary market, typically, for example, you make a movie or a book or a comic, and you sell it. Great, you've made something out of it. The person who bought it then sells it on eBay, and that's it. The person who sold it makes their own money. That's it. You're not part of the deal. The secondary market, however, has something in there, and again, it's in the smart contract with NFTs, so that we can see, in terms of nurturing the careers and creating sustainability, creating longevity, that they continue to benefit from that they continue to get something out of it for those who are involved in those NFTs. So there is definitely something there that will benefit content creators and artists and painters and so on and so forth. And that's where NFTs can create, in a essentially a lifeline for someone. So I mean, it's on a case-by-case basis, depending on how the project's formed and established. But it's definitely something that's there that should be explored and looked into to support actors, to support all painters, artists, and all forms of content creators. And I see that as, again, a game changer for production companies and for the talent.
Yeah, and look, if I'm given a chance to just end off, I just wanted to just highlight one thing. A lot of people treat NFTs as if they were actually the end product, right? They treat NFTs as if it was the art piece, but it's not the case, right? In common, if you look at the common denominator of an NFT, what it really is just a Word document with blockchain characteristics, right? And if it's just merely a Word document and all you have in your document is just a link pointing to a JPEG in a centralized server, it actually means nothing. So I would really encourage everyone, before you buy any NFT, remember that it's actually a Word document. So what you need to do is to see what is written in the Word document, right? So if what is written is actually an IP, intellectual property license, then what you have is a license. If what's written in there is actually a title deed to a real estate, then what you have is a piece of real estate. So don't assume that the NFT is the end product, right? So because if all that's written in the Word document, which is the NFT, is just merely a link, then you have nothing more than a piece of paper with a link on it, and which means that it's of no value. So I think that's just what I wanted to end off with. And the good thing about coming to Marvion and buying something from Marvion is that we ensure that this Word document contains all of the rights, licenses, and ownership title to whatever we claim that you're going to get. And if you're going to be part of a community and it's a membership to a community, you will see that in the NFT itself, not in a separate document. And I think that's where we're very, very different. So I just want to end off with that. Kev, I hand it back over to you.
Okay, look, I think we've done an hour of this Ask Me Anything. Look, thank you very much, guys, for coming on this AMA. Julian, Bizhan, and thank you, Kevin and Shaopin, for taking time off your busy schedule. All of you are busy people and taking time off to come on this AMA. Now, the audience, thank you very much for jumping on and watching this AMA. I encourage you to continue to follow Marvion because we have more exciting things coming up with Phoenix Waters. Bizhan are continuing to shoot more movies, and they'll continue to work with Marvion in using NFTs. And if you want to find out more on how NFT has a role in the movie industry, I encourage you to continue to follow Marvion and the Phoenix Waters, the segment of the AMA. We'll try and run them regularly. You will get notifications as to when each of these segments are going to be run. And the topics will also be posted. And like I say, we have a few questions being fielded and they're being answered. I hope that sort of answers the questions that have been asked. And but thank you very much, everyone, and we'll hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, Kevin.
Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Good afternoon. See you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.